Hey, it's John. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the latest edition of the Live Cuts. My guest this evening is probably best known for he and his friend Sidney's wonderful YouTube channel called Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza. Logan Collins, welcome to my show.
Hey John, thank you. Thanks so much, man, for asking me to do this. I'm really excited.
I am too, and you're very, very welcome. I'm really looking forward to this one because we are going to talk about a great live album that doesn't get enough recognition, which is the premise of this series called the Live Cuts. Today's album we will be discussing was the band's fifth album overall. It was released in September of 1975. I am talking about Rock Meets Vaudeville of the Sensational Alex Harvey Band with their first live album called Live. This album was recorded on May 24, 1975, the Hammersmith Odeon in London, England. This would be one of 6 albums to go silver for the Sensational Alex Harvey Band in the UK. It would also be their highest charting album in the United States, hitting number 100 on the Billboard Top 200. The Sensational Alex Harvey Band at this point were Alex Harvey on lead vocals and guitar, Zal Clemenson on guitar, Chris Glenn on bass, Hugh McKenna on keys and synthesizers, and Ted McKenna on drums. This was produced by David Batchelor as well as the band. Logan,
Cool.
when did you first hear this album and get into the Sensational Alex Harvey Band?
All right. So how I got into Alex Harvey was actually the album Next, which I believe is his second album,
Correct.
the Sensational Alex Harvey Band's album. I listened to that one over and over when I was a younger kid. So I guess I knew already then that they were kind of a odd band for the kind of music I like because like you introduced them, they're very vaudeville, very cabaret, and they
Mm.
like combine that with rock and roll, in a way. And I guess after that one, I kind of went back and I listened to Frame, and then I kind of went in order after that, and I eventually stumbled upon the live album, which you've asked me to talk about, which I'm excited, man. So excited to talk about it. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how I got into them a couple years ago, really.
I have to ask this, and I know that you're a lot younger than I am. Do you have any family or friends that talk about if this band got played on the radio in your parts back in the day?
Um, I actually introduced my dad to this band. So,
Okay.
yep. But the thing about this band, I guess, that kind of connects it with my dad's kind of style of music because he loves AC/DC so much.
All right.
And I really think Alex Harvey kind of has that Bon Scott style delivery and vocal. So I thought my dad would really like him, and he does. So I guess that's kind of the connection there. I don't really know if they ever did get I played around here too often. I know in Ohio they were kind of a bigger. They got played on the radio stations a lot in Ohio because Ohio was kind of, I don't know, they were more free form on their bands they picked to play and certain things like that. So
Yeah, and I've learned that over the years about the Ohio radio stations. Okay, I never heard this band. I only heard of this band.
yeah.
Never heard this band in Northeast Pennsylvania. How I got into this band was when John Clauser and I were doing a weekly show on his channel, My Music Corner, here on YouTube. We were talking about other bands that we were considering doing a series on. And John's brother, who's a lot older than he is, he's probably in his early 70s at this point, was a big fan of the Sensational Alex Harvey Band. And he introduced John to them, and John said, down the road, I'd like to do a series on this band. So 2 years ago, I bought this collection, the 5 classic albums collection from the Sensational Alex Harvey Band. And this has the first 4 studio albums, Framed, Next, The Impossible Dream, and Tomorrow Belongs to Me, respectively. And the 5th album of this collection is the live album. So we had that weekly show through 2024. Then I decided to focus more on my own channel. So we never talked about the Sensational Alex Harvey Band. But when I was doing a show on your channel and you were coming in via you recorded your part of the show earlier, and then Sidney spliced it into the main show we were doing live. I saw on your big screen you had a cover of the Sensational Alex Harvey Band's next album there.
Yep.
And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, idea.
Yep.
So I had to know if you were really into this band. And once you said you did, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a new show. So, but this band, yeah, Alex Harvey back in the day sounded like Bon Scott, particularly early Bon Scott. When I listened to something like High Voltage or the 74 Jailbreak EP, which came out in
Yep.
84, Bond sounds a lot like Alex Harvey on there. And I think as
Yeah.
time went on,
Yep.
he was working more with his producers and becoming a more
More.
established singer.
Yeah. Refined, maybe. Yeah.
Refined, yeah, that would be a good word to describe it. But the Scottish part of Bond's voice is really apparent on those early albums, and you really hear that on here as well.
Yep. 100%.
Alex, yes, he does. Alex Harvey is a very distinct tone to his singing voice, and the band here is excellent.
Yep.
So,
Top notch, man.
absolutely. So, Logan, I'm going to ask if you can go through the album track by track, and I will say whatever I feel like whenever a thought comes to my mind, and then we'll go from there.
Cool, man. It sounds good.
Yeah.
The the only thing I wanted to mention that this album was produced by David Batchelor, who actually was the lead singer in the band that formed out of Alex Harvey out of his band. They were called Tear Gas. I think all of them besides Hugh McKenna was in that band. So David Batchelor was actually the singer in that band. So it's kind of cool. He became their producer in a way for certain albums. And yeah, they were touring for the Impossible Dream on this tour, and on this album. And Tomorrow Belongs to Me was getting ready to come out. So and yeah, John, well, I don't know if that classic album series might be the remasters from 2002, because that's when they remastered all the CDs. I'm not sure if it's later, but yeah, I
One thing
know.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I can say that some of these recordings sound stronger than others. Like, did they
uh,
remaster all these in 2002?
I believe so, John. I believe they did the whole catalog, I think.
Because what I can tell you is that Framed and Next sound very strong, but Impossible Dream and Tomorrow Belongs to Me sound a little more muffled. And I don't
Yeah,
know if these were from the original recordings and those first 2 recordings just had a stronger production or not. It's weird with these sets because sometimes you get the remasters and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get bonus tracks, sometimes you don't. You don't have bonus tracks.
yep, yeah.
So
You never know what you're getting sometimes. Yeah,
it's true, but if you can get these while you can't beat the price. Now this is a lot harder to find because they only make so many of these, and then they go out of print, and then you're paying several times as much for them. I think I
yep.
paid $18 for this set on Amazon a couple of years ago.
Can't beat that, man, for 5 albums. Yeah,
Exactly. And they weren't, and as much as I love Joe Nardone's Gallery of Sound in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, more music for your money, I don't believe they were going to carry this. I mean, I've looked on there recently. They don't have any Sensational Alex Harvey Band.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, kind of like what you were talking about before. They really weren't anything of note here, sadly, in a way. I mean, even in the UK, I don't think they were that big of a band, like you said. I mean, certified silver, and they had a good run, but I just think that's a good point of why we're covering this album is they might be more of a live, of a live band a little bit in a way, and you
absolutely.
can there's a lot of video footage on YouTube of these guys too, and everything, the whole stage show and theatrics and everything, it plays into these songs so well. So I mean, if you listen to them and you don't like the studio albums, maybe watch them on YouTube and maybe you'll get a newfound appreciation for what they're trying to do. It might come through a little bit better is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But
I
yeah,
echo your
that's all I
sentiments completely. I
had. Yeah,
definitely, this is a band that was born for the stage, no question about it.
100%. Yep. But yeah, I'll get into the tracks here. It starts with Fanfare, which is just a short little, like a minute and a half thing. It's got a subtitle as Justly, Skillfully, and Magnanimously. Magnanimous.
Magnanimously.
Yeah, yeah. So they're really being boisterous and grandiose at the start. Um, and, kind of, I think it was written by Derek Wadsworth, which he's kind of like a jazz classical kind of composer guy. I noted. It features some timpani drums and horn arrangements, and it goes right into Alex, kind of being the master of ceremonies for the live album in the evening, introducing his band. I love the way he starts it, good evening, boys and girls, and he always used to do that, and it's just great, it gets you pumped up for what you're getting ready to listen to. And it segues right into the eerie keyboard and percussion heavy start of the song "The Faith Healer," which is one of the band's signature songs. A couple bands have covered this one. I know Saxon did on one of their later, like their covers, inspirations kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
sax. I never got into the covers album.
Yep.
That's good
Yeah,
to
you
know.
have to check that out. That's a pretty good cover, John. Yeah, you have to check it out.
We
But yeah, they always played this song a little different live compared to the studio version, which is on next, with the chorus section being played first after the intro, and it's slowed down in tempo to make like the guitar really heavy, And we'll get into more about Zal Clemenson in a little bit. But yeah, the band starts playing the verses of the song after this. Great lyrics as always from Alex. He's kind of got the, I don't know, the Scottish humor, kind of Bon Scott like. I'm sure Bon probably took a little bit of, inspiration from some of the stuff that Alex wrote about. And
I got that vibe too.
yeah, 100%. And Hugh McKenna is another uh, really big important part of this band, the keyboard player, because he gets a great solo about 4 minutes into the song. Um, and it kind of, it stays in line with that eerie vibe of the song. It's just really, it's kind of creepy, like we're approaching Halloween season. This would be a great song to like play during that kind of time period. But yeah, love the ending with the band plays the starting riff again and then ending on the whole band playing the chorus chords together. It's really slow and heavy before the ending. And yeah, and kind of everything what I said earlier. One thing to note about this band, they were more a live act than studio, but on this album you can just feel the great energy right from the start of the song, and it doesn't let up throughout the album. I don't think. It's a great opening song and one of the band's signature tunes. So yeah, that's the first track, "The Faith Healer," and we go to track two, I guess track three, which is "Tomahawk Kid," which is a song off their third album, "The Impossible Dream." And this one kind of completely left turn already with lyrically. This one's about Robert Louis Stevenson's novel Treasure Island, which I think everybody had to read once or twice in high school or grade school, or they probably made you read it. But yeah, and even the lyrics they talk about like the characters from the novel, like Billy Bones and Captain Dan, and they like their quest for buried treasure, like what the whole song's about. And it's another tune credited to Harvey and Hugh McKenna. That was kind of like the main songwriting group, kind of here, them two, with producer David Batchelor actually getting writing credit as well on this song. And yeah, this one wastes no time after the big ending of the Faith Healer. It gives us this love this beautiful melodic keyboard piece from Hugh McKenna. as Alex introduces the track. He talks about it being based on the book. But yeah, then the first verse, it's kind of really soft and very melodic before the track breaks into the main riff of the song. Got a nice change in dynamics, I think. I love the band's backing vocals as well on this track. Really great on the harmonies. Something probably people don't pick up on too often is probably the harmony kind of. I know sometimes Zal goes really high and it's kind of funny. It's probably meant to be comedic in a way, but on this one they're like being really serious with it, I think. Until you get to the bridge, which takes the track in like a complete other direction with the yo ho ho thing, like the pirates. I thought that was pretty funny. Um, and yeah, it goes right into Hugh's keyboards. It almost has like a saxophone like sound to it, I think, before we get to the instrumental break. And yeah, I love this whole section with that Zal's like guitar parts. They're so singable and really anthemic, I think. I could see the crowd really getting into the middle section of Tomahawk Kid. But yeah, then they go back to the same arrangements from before, and then they end on that anthemic guitar line again. But yeah, I just think that's part of what makes this band so special is their ability to change styles in one song so well and still be able to pull off all the theatrical cabaret stuff like we talked about. So yeah, that's Tomahawk Kid.
Yeah, and I'm smiling a lot here because you're saying a lot of things that I wrote down.
Yeah,
Because what I've been doing when I've been reviewing this album is comparing it to the studio versions, these songs.
right, yeah.
And when I listen to that beginning, it sounds more like Wings, Paul McCartney and Wings, their soft rock side.
Yeah,
It
yep.
has more of an elegance here that I think that you had on the original version. I like the backing harmonies on here because more on the original, they're singing the words with Alex. Here they're doing more harmonizing, and it has more soulful feel to me
Yeah.
than
Oh man.
the
Yeah,
original does.
yeah. It's
And I
just
think,
awesome. I love that keyboard line at the start, man. It's great.
oh yeah, the
So
electric piano on here, I think is one
yeah.
of is very 70s. And in 1975, the electric piano was very prominent in music.
Oh yeah. Yep.
No doubt about it. And I love what they did with this here. This is an
Yep.
excellent version. And then we go into Vambo, which is
Yes.
the first part of the Hot City Symphony, which is the
Yep.
opening track on The Impossible Dream.
Yep. Yeah, this one kind of sets you on another pace, again, kind of waste no time, starts up after Tomahawk Kid ends. It's got these like tribal like drums from the great Ted McKenna, which any of our heavy metal fans probably know that name because he ended up playing for Michael Schenker for a spell too, later down the line. And even to plug something, I mean, we'll be talking about Ted McKenna in a little while on our Rory Gallagher show.
That's right.
So yeah, he got around a little bit after Alex. But yeah, I just love the drumming. It really sets the pace of the track. Got some cool offbeat bass playing from Chris Glenn, which and some people in the crowd already know what they're getting ready to go into because you'd hear them shouting Bambo. I like live albums when they're like that. You can if the audience is just as much important as the band is at times, especially on this, I think,
Oh my
which we'll
God. They're
talk about
another band
later.
member. They're another band member on here.
100%, man. Yep. Yeah, and Alex starts going into a story of his own, version of a comic book hero, which he says is like a cross between Santa Claus and Spider-Man, which always makes me laugh. Um, yeah, Alex's lyrics, man, they're hilarious and, just very, I don't know, very whimsical and kind of fantasy, and they're all kind of very rooted in that kind of thing. But yeah, for musically this track, it's got this cool unison keyboard and guitar line comes into the track. Really builds in dynamics when the bass and drumming into this like funk riff almost, which there's another different aspect to this band. They can get funky with it sometimes. But before the verses start up on the track, Alex singing about Vambo and his adventures. Another great chorus can be found in this song, very anthemic, like we talked about, with the high harmony vocals of Zal Clemenson, really prominent on this song. And
Nice.
yeah, I think you talked about us doing that underlooked, guitarist show. this song right here is part of the reason I wanted to pick Zal and really highlight him because I about halfway through this track, his solo, probably one of his finest in the band's catalog, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, because it just breaks down to just Chris Glenn and Ted McKenna's like pulsating groove, and then Zal's leads are just sprinkled over the top, you know. And I just love it, man. And the whole band comes back in later, and Zal's still like going crazy,
Hmm.
playing his leads. But yeah, pretty much. Oh, and he fools around with the delay pedal, I noticed too, which I thought that was kind of cool. It kind of gives us, if you listen to it with headphones on, it kind of gives us like quadraphonic sound because it sounds like it's going around you a bunch. Um, but yeah, and even in the soloing, they're kind of quirky and funny because they like uh play on a nursery rhyme. I know at towards the end of it, it's kind of like I can't remember what one it is. It's kind of like London Bridge is falling down or something like that. They're like playing the melody to that, and then Hugh McKenna's playing the melody too of it. I just love the quirkiness of this band, man. They're just something else with that.
And I
But
was,
yeah, yeah,
and oh, sorry, I was going to say the call and response between Alex and the crowd here is
oh yeah,
is awesome. He has got charisma out the wazoo.
yeah,
Fantastic.
stage presence, man. Well, you got to think too. Another thing I wanted to come, kind of point out in the show, Alex Harvey was born in 1935, so he had a wealth of experience with crowds and being on stages because he put albums out like in the early 60s, you know? So he probably always kind of had that kind of vibe. And maybe he just couldn't get it to push anywhere commercially until he found this band, and they started doing this quirky thing. And he's just, yeah, he owns the stage. Anytime you watch live footage of them guys or anything, man, he's just, he's always the center, the spotlight, and like you said earlier, the band is just as good, but sometimes Alex is so good, it like, you're just not even thinking about the band sometimes. But, you
One thing
know,
I'll say is they got this chemistry of
oh yeah,
them all. I mean, they really work off of Alex's style here vocally and
yeah,
what the way that he plays the crowd, which is
yep,
very awesome. And like you mentioned before, this is definitely a funkier version than you had on
oh
the
yeah,
original. Before you had the tribal feel on the original, but the funk bass wasn't on there like it is on the beginning of this live version. And the jam on here is wicked. It is wonderful. They really stretch this one out compared
yeah,
to,
yeah,
and what's really interesting is on an earlier album, I believe it was next, they have a song called Vambo Marble Eye.
right, yeah. So I think maybe his concept of Vambo maybe like goes throughout like all these albums in a way because I know on Tomorrow Belongs to Me he says something about Vambo towards the end of that album too. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he kind of, he always brings that character in and out of his lyrics. So pretty
Right.
cool.
Yeah, and then that song, Vambo Marble Eye, it's just a wicked rocker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very early 70s in its presentation with the wah wah guitar and all that.
Oh,
Here it's more
yep.
drawn out.
Yep.
And both songs are excellent, but it depends on what you like. You want something to kick you in the teeth. Vambo Marble Eye may be the song for you. This one's a
Yep.
little more funkier, more dramatic, and a jam on it is killer.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome, man.
yeah, definitely. Now we're going into give my compliments to this chef, which was originally on Tomorrow Belongs to Me.
Yeah. So they're playing a song from an album that hasn't been released yet actually on this tour because I think Alex even says it like before they start playing. He mentions like they're getting ready to put this out, so it's pretty cool. Um, yeah. So Alex introduces the tune. We get this nice laid back arrangement. Again, kind of like what you were saying about Tomahawk Kid. This kind of goes back to that because it's kind of
Mhm.
got like I almost I wrote down like kind of goes from Steely Dan, at the start. It kind of has
A
like a
little bit, yeah.
jazzier,
Oh, definitely.
yeah,
And you have that
yeah,
electric piano, which was very prominent on Pretzel Logic and Katie lied
yep,
for this era, and then a little bit later, the Royal Scam. So, yeah, it
yeah.
does have that little bit of that kind of feel early on, no doubt.
yeah, and musically, kind of just has this great like pulsating bass from Cliff Glenn during this part, and Hugh McKenna's great keyboards, like you just mentioned. Alex returns with some quirky storytelling lyrics as always. And I love the chorus line, even if it is pretty ridiculous, you know. But in doing this, John, when I was listening to this album, after I got done with it, I would say give my compliments to the chef all the time. You know, it's something that got stuck in my head, you know. But yeah, this song is really like you were saying, Vampo and Vampo Marble Eye are two sides of a coin with this band. This song is like two sides of a coin in a band in one song
Yes,
because it's really split in two halves. You know, about 4 minutes in, the song totally goes from this like laid back, kind of rocker to full rock and roll with heavy guitar riff and some great keyboard lines from Hugh McKenna again. I love the instrumental break in this track as well. The band sort of do this call and response arrangement with Alex during this part. He sings a line and the band respond with the main riff. Um, but yeah, it's just I think it's a great song, you know. Maybe I think this one is the one on the album where the studio it's not too much different, so it's kind of, you could go either or with this one, but I think it's a great live song. Really, really works live.
I agree with that statement. The only thing that really is different on the studio version is you have a lot more sound effects on it. And
Yeah,
one sound effect that comes in twice sounds like a tea kettle blowing. And it's just a little more jarring musically in the chorus on the studio version. Here,
yeah,
it seems to flow better.
yeah,
Thing I really like about this album, I like the organic feel here, which a live album should have an organic feel. Sometimes I think they laid it on a little too thick with
in the
the
studio.
synthesizers on
Yeah,
particularly the two albums. Well, the one album before it was the two albums released before this one, although this was recorded right before they put out Tomorrow Belongs to Me. But
right.
yes,
Yeah,
otherwise, yeah, it's the same song, but which is fine because it's a new song that hasn't been released to the public yet. And
yeah,
plus all the other songs were switching things up here and there and always making it interesting.
yeah, 100%. They are always playing with the arrangement, like you were saying. You know,
No
that's part
doubt.
of the reason I love them, man. You know, it's cool.
Next we get Delilah, written by Les Reed and Barry Mason, most notably recorded by the legend that is Tom Jones. Tom
Yep.
Jones took this song to number one or number two in many, many countries, including his native UK. He took it to number two. Here in the States, it was only hit number 15, but it has endured as one of his most popular songs here in the United States. Now, this would be the Sensational Alex Harvey Band's biggest hit in the UK, hitting number
Yep.
seven. So, what do you think of this version?
Delilah, I kind of like, I like it really good. I actually, before we started doing the show, I actually compared the two. I was listening to Alex's and Tom Jones. It's kind of crazy how they change stuff around. And, Alex has that humor to his vocals and stuff, but, and Tom Jones is, a force vocally. So it's night and day, really, But I think they do a great job to it, and this is kind of a highlight for them because they always pick kind of unique cover tunes, not kind of outside the norm. They actually did a covers album I think after this album. I'm forgetting on what it's called. I think it's like the Penthouse tapes or something.
Yeah, that's it.
I
That's it.
know. Yeah. Yep. Man, I can't. I know they do Del Shannon Runaway, which is kind of like, you know, but yeah, they kind of, it just sounds like pure fun to me. And for the band and the audience, like you were talking about for the last couple songs. And I love the waltz tempo changes as well in the chorus that kind of really brings that carnival or cabaret style to this track, especially with Hugh's keyboards. But yeah, and his synth solo on this track is probably another highlight of the tune, I'd say. Yeah, and I love the big grand ending with Alex holding the note, for Delilah, and And the band's syncopated ending after that is really cool. They're all playing the notes together. But yeah, it's a great track, and like you said, got a band their biggest hit, really. So it's awesome.
And it keeps the theatrics of the Tom Jones version, but takes out the bombast. Because the
Oh
original
yeah,
is
100%.
very, very bombastic with its
Oh yeah, yeah,
and both of them were played in a waltz feel, but here you could feel you can really it's very distinctive the waltz feel musically and
yeah,
song in this version compared to the Tom Jones version where you're focusing more on his voice and all the other instruments and things going on. I
yep,
like it.
100%.
I like in this organic version. I'm not going to say I like it more than the Tom Jones version because I've heard that Tom Jones version forever. It's a
Yep,
classic, but
100%.
I
Yep.
love what they did with it.
Yeah, they just took it and molded it into an Alex Harvey Band song.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. Now, the proper album ends with the title track from their first album, which is
Yep.
Framed, which was written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. And it was recorded by the Robins back in August of 1954. It was also recorded by Richie Valens, Lowell George and the Factory, which was the band he had before Little Feat, Jerry Reed, and Cheech and Chong, although a couple of these artists changed up the lyrics a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And on this version, we're doubling the length of the studio
Oh yeah. 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 It's 11:04 on my vinyl copy. It says here.
compared to
So,
457 on the framed album.
which we'll get into why, because there is a lot of, like we've talked about throughout, a lot of crowd participation, especially towards the end of this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Alex Harvey, he really is a blues man at heart. And, I don't think any other song shows this better than the debut song from their first album, like you were saying. And I love how Alex pronounces framed, like the frame.
Right,
Every
right.
time he said, yeah, he just always emphasizes the last couple letters of the framed. I just love it, man. Great vehicle for Alex, this song, as he tells his story of being, picked up by two policemen and they didn't do anything to nobody. And the verse riff of the track calls to mind the old Muddy Waters song Managed Boy, but really I'm not entirely sure if Managed Boy is newer than the song. I could be wrong, but it's probably pretty close because
I
I
think
know Muddy Waters was having a lot of hits by the early 50s.
that's tough.
So
Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
sure when Muddy originally released it. I'm gonna say maybe it
right.
was earlier, but
Yeah.
I would say maybe a little bit earlier. But I mean, I know Muddy
I
Water.
bet I bet it's close.
Yeah,
I bet,
it's
yeah.
probably within 5 year span, something like that.
Oh, 100%.
If
But
any
yeah.
out there know, please let us know in the comments.
Yep, yep. I should have looked that one up. I forgot. But yeah, it's just another great part about this tune live. It became more of a vehicle for Zal Clemenson as well. To shine. He plays some great bluesy leads. I love the moment before they come back to the verses. Zal holds this note and the sustain, just rings perfectly into Alex's next set of lyrics on this. It's probably one of the best versions of Frame they ever recorded, probably in a way, just because of like all the wacky soloing, and it goes right into the verse as well. And yeah, I like how here's another change in arrangement. They kind of make it more jazzy feel in the second half in a way,
Mhm. Oh yes.
before Zal comes in with another great bluesy solo. While Alex screams about being framed in the background. I just love it, man. And then here's why it's probably so, I guess because of the extended solos, it's longer. But about 8 minutes into the song, the track kind of comes to a close, and then Alex kind of wants his verdict from the crowd if they believe him about being guilty or not.
Right.
And they go back and forth between yes and no, and oh man, it's so funny to listen to that. And yeah, he eventually changes the crowd's mind to root for him in the end. Uh, and then he says, I can't remember what he says. I wish I would have wrote it down. He says like, "How about this band?" or something. And they go nuts, man.
Right.
you know, yeah. But yeah, and it ends very theatrical, kind of like Delilah has that long note that Alex sings. before the band plays that classic blues turnaround ending to bring the song and show. I'm assuming the show ended on this, but maybe not. I mean,
Well, I'm
it's
glad
just
that
a yeah,
I am sorry
great
to
ending.
interrupt you there, but I'm glad that
Fine.
you mentioned that. You know why?
You
Because
got bored, John?
I went on Setlist FM and I checked out the set list that night,
Cool.
and they did end it with Framed.
Awesome.
And they did open with fanfare into the Faith Healer.
Yep.
And the reason I pulled up the set list is we got a one record album here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Released in the fall of 75, much like Kiss Alive 1 was released in the fall of 75. And there's the original vinyl, our friends, right there. There it is on Atlantic Records. Logan picked it up. So I'm not a big vinyl guy, just to let y'all know out there, but I'm glad that Logan brought it here for us to see. A lot of people that are fans of the band that I've been reading on the internet said this should have been released as a 2 record set. And
Yep.
if Atlantic did release this as a 2 record set, maybe it would have broke them. Like Alive 1 broke Kiss, or Frampton Comes Alive broke Peter Frampton the following year. Would
Yeah.
you?
Think about all those iconic double albums, that came out around this time. Yeah.
Right. And because you had them a little bit here and there in the early part of the 70s, but I think Alive 1 kind of broke the gates open,
Yeah.
because in the next few years you had Leonard Skinner, One More from the Road, and
Yep.
the next year in 76 you'd have Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, Live Bullet, and Ted
Yep.
Nugent, Double Live Gonzo in 78. We can go on and on. So that night the band did 14 tracks, and I'm going to go over the set list. Now here's the thing: some of these were when these were put on this album, the songs are primarily in order, but you're skipping a few here and there, and then they're skipping a whole bunch that would be in the second half of the show. We start with Fanfare, we go into the Faith Healer. Then we go into Achen Strassi, the opening track on Tomorrow Belongs to Me. Then we go into Tomahawk Kid. Then we go into Soul in Chains, also from Tomorrow Belongs to Me. There's a lot from this album on here. There's a lot of
Yeah.
new songs
I
being debuted that night.
so so I wonder, John, do you think because the album didn't release yet, they didn't want to put it on the album yet, in a way? I know it's kind of weird to think that,
Um,
but
I would agree with that sentiment. I would agree. I would agree you don't want to put too much
right,
a
yeah.
brand new album out on a live album.
Mhm.
But as you go into the set list, after they did Soul and Chains, the next 3 songs are in the same exact order that you have on here in Vambo, Give My Compliments to the Chef, and then Delilah. Then you got 5 songs in a row that are not on the live album: The Tale of the Giant Stone Eater, Sergeant Fury, Tomorrow Belongs to Me, Midnight Moses, and Gangbang.
Yeah,
And then we end it with Framed. Framed ended the show that night.
yeah.
So that's why it feels so natural on the album.
Oh yeah, 100%.
What I'm thinking is, if they added a few extra songs from this show, now we don't know how the recordings actually turned out. Perhaps these were the best recordings that night and it just worked out that way. It's a great album, even as a single record.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering if you put 3 more songs on here and make it a 2 record set, because this was a 46 minutes vinyl, and when you're going a certain length, you're taking away from the quality of the record itself.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you put this out as a 2 record set, and you know they're going to stretch these bad boys out. Make it like I don't know, 16 minutes on each side. So maybe like a 64-minute, 65-minute album. I think you
Yeah.
make this into a two record set, and I make this in a two record set. I think it might have helped break them, and at least got them on FM radio pretty heavy here.
You know, the one thing you mentioned, Midnight Moses, that is one of their biggest songs, you know, and that always kind of puzzled me that it's not on the live album, you know, in a way. Because I never looked, John. I never knew how much I figured they played more that night, but I never really knew. So that's cool, you know, you got the whole set list there. I totally think out of the songs you said, Midnight Moses for sure should have been on this thing. Because, you know,
I wrote down three songs, and Midnight Moses was one.
hmm
The Tale of the Great, or I'm sorry, the Giant Stone Eater was
yeah,
two. Now that would have been on a new album, but
right, yeah.
so we got two. So we're putting this out a few months after Tomorrow Belongs to Me. So we're putting two songs from the new album on there. I think two songs
Yeah,
is
that's fair, yeah. Yeah.
two's good. And you got to put and Gangbang.
Oh yeah,
You
that's what
got to
I
put
was gonna say.
Gangbang.
That you imagine the crowd during that. I mean, wow.
Exactly, especially if it's the song, if it's near the end of the album, sandwiched in between Midnight Moses and Framed. Oh my God,
Oh yeah,
would have went over
that
like
would
monsters.
that would have been amazing, man. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. That's the only bad part about it, really. I mean, I never knew how they ended the set. I mean, them last three songs, like you said, they should have been in there. And kind of like what you were saying, I think any other song that showed up on Tomorrow Belongs to Me could have been. But yeah, I like your choice of Giant Stone Eater because that one's really that shows another aspect of them. That's almost in a prog kind of
It is, I agree.
avenue. Yeah.
And I wouldn't take anything off. I think the album sounds great as is. I'm like listening to studio versions of all these songs that didn't make the album. And those were
Mhm.
the three that I'm like, God, would make this already great live album even better.
Even better. Yeah. 100%.
Oh my God. So, how would you rank this album, Logan?
Um,
1 to 10.
well, probably my overall, I guess, before I get kind of a great album, I think. For anyone, and I want to mention this too before we get off here. Anyone who doesn't know Sensational Alex Harvey Band and wants to familiarize themselves with some of the band's standout songs, I think, like a lot of bands in the 70s, the live album is sometimes the way to go, you know.
I agree.
And this one really shows and highlights some of their signature tunes. For a rating, it's kind of tough for me because I think I will give it probably a 9. I think. Because I just think it's solid all the way throughout, you know. Really has some of the band's signature tunes. I guess the only thing for me that really kind of strives it away from being a 10 is what we just talked about, you know, if there was them extra songs, you know, and some of their more signature tunes on here as well, you know. So yeah, I'm happy with a 9 out of 10.
I echo your sentiments. I would give this a 9 for the same reasons. I
Awesome.
love the recording, the charisma of the band, and their rapport with the crowd is on full display. I Alex, I mean, gosh, what a front man. Fantastic.
Oh,
This was the age of the great frontmen, in my opinion. This is when you really had the lead singer really knowing how to work a crowd and really get into it. The
yeah.
songs on here, you got one from each album. So every album's represented. I like what they did with Delilah. I'm happy it was a big hit for them. I
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean they made it their own and yet made it a big hit, and it doesn't feel out of place here at all.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about it, you know. It fits. If you didn't know the Tom Jones like recorded version or anything, I mean, you would probably think it's just another Alex Harvey album or song, you know.
I would
That's the
agree.
best part about it.
No doubt about it. So I would give this a 9 just as you would, Logan. Now, to all of you
Awesome.
out there, Do you know the Sensational Alex Harvey Band? And do you know this album? And what do you think of this album? Are you a big fan of the band? Have you been listening to them since the 1970s? Have you seen them live with Alex Harvey or without Alex Harvey? Because Alex Harvey would later leave the band. Sadly, we lost him in 1982, and the band got
Yep.
back together after that for a spell. What are your favorite songs on the album? What songs would you have recorded, or I'm sorry, put on this album instead of what was on the original track listing? What would you put on from the other songs that were played that night? Or maybe songs that weren't even recorded or played that night? Would you like to have heard a live version on here? Please let us know in the comments. Logan, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about this wonderful live album that does not get enough love or recognition, the Sensational Alex Harvey Band live.
Pleasure is all mine, John. I'm really glad you asked me to do this, man, because they've always been kind of an outlier in my music listening, but I've always, always really loved their quirkiness and everything we talked about. So thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. Where is that photo that's behind you on the big screen?
Oh,
Where'd you get that?
uh, I found it on YouTube. I think this is a video of somebody. I think they put Swamp Snake on on the YouTube, and they actually have a bunch of different pictures of them on here. So I thought that was a cool picture to have. It's got Zal and Chris and Alex kind of posing, and actually the bottom says sensational. Some words are used too lightly, and some are just about right. So I think
There you go.
I think it fits them pretty well. So
No doubt about it. What do you have coming up on Slogans, Rock and Metal Extravaganza? And I'm always going to stress that word.
yeah, me and my buddy Sidney are we're continuing our Rory Gallagher show this Saturday, which I think we will be on Rory's fourth studio album, which is Tattoo, and we're gonna cover that one and his second live album called Irish Tour 74. So very much companion pieces to each other. It should be interesting to see how the growth of, I think he's grown as a guitarist already, so in that way. And of course John was on our video for Deuce and the first album, self-titled debut from Rory Gallagher. So check that out on our channel, Slogans Rock and Metal Extravaganza. But yeah, I wanted to plug too. I'm going to be on Curlis Mania with Mr. Tom Curlis here. I think on Tuesday we're recording. Me and him have been going through some David Bowie stuff, kind
Nice.
of the kind of just the studio albums. But it's funny we're doing a live album because me and Tom are actually going to tackle the three live albums that David Bowie put out in the '70s. So we're gonna just gonna like highlight each one and like what our favorite songs are and probably kind of rate them. So it should be pretty fun. But yeah, that's about it, I think, for what I'm doing.
You have another show coming up that's going to air the next day after this one. Are you part of
Oh
that?
yeah. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do a little video because I'm a little busy that day. So
Oh, okay.
I will be there in spirit, but Sydney and Webb Van Devere, who's been on the Grants Rock Warehouse, so, I don't know if have you done shows with Webb? I'm sure you have.
I've done
I can't
shows with
remember though.
them. Yes, I have.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, so Webb's gonna be there. Brian McFadden, who is a regular on our show, his friend Christina is gonna be there. Um, man, I can't remember everybody now, so I'm gonna forget people. But there's about six. I think there's about six people, six panelists, and we're gonna do our best song series that we've been going through, and we're gonna tackle one of Canada's finest bands. Probably one of the biggest bands for sure from Canada, Rush, and their first seven albums. So we're going from the debut in '74 to Hemispheres in 1978. Gonna pick one song off each album. So yeah, that's a toughie. So I still gotta figure out what I'm picking for that.
Well, as a longtime Rush fan, yes, that is not easy, particularly in those golden 70s years.
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Do what you love, and we'll talk to you soon.